Hey YouTubers, thanks for stopping by the channel again. And tonight we're getting back into lightsabers, and we see in front of us the enormous Darth Maul lightsaber from the Phantom Menace, made by Master Replicas. And this thing is a beast and an amazing piece, and weighs in at 3 point something pounds. Um, it is without doubt my favorite, well, with the exception of the Luke Skywalker, the original trilogy saber. Um, it is without doubt my favorite lightsaber design in any of the saga, of any of the series. The Phantom Menace lightsaber designs shared a common uh, thing with the knurled knobs and the brushed stainless cases, and the some cases the fluting lines at the ends of the emitters. Very similar concept. And they started adding the clip ends down there for your belt, which don't really work that well, but that's what they were using. But the Darth Maul one in particular, because number one, it just is amazing looking. Number two, it brought a design to the universe that had not been in film canon anyway, had been seen before. In the way of a double bladed saber, very staff looking. For us martial artists, for me as well. I mean, it was a pleasant little thing that felt similar in my hands. Having worked with staff weapons for years and so forth, this was, I understood what they were getting at, but at the same time, the idea that they were trying to go with that, the physical design of it with the buttons and the knobs and whatever, much like any of the other sabers, just completely made no sense in what they were trying to do. I mean, you're trying to have this weapon that you spin around and slide around in your hands, and you've got all these buttons and bumps and knobs, and but the visual aesthetic is definitely appealing. But in real world application, these things should be flat and smooth. So the stunt versions of these sabers were, but that's a different story. Um, so yeah, I mean the original trilogy Luke Skywalker saber, because of its iconic design, and genuinely I just like the design, um, was based on found parts. Graflex, lightsaber tube, and so forth. And we talked about that, but this was when they were making things for the Phantom Menace and into the trilogy. Um, they were designing these from the ground up. They were making them because they had the ability to mill them out now and kind of come up with what they wanted. And I'm sure that a couple things were found parts, like the red knobs at the top are a common knob style on other, like, machine devices and so forth. But the general shapes of them, and again the ends of the saber with the fluted angled ribs into the emitters, and those were all designed and milled, and they came up with them from the ground up. So a lot more actual design went into them, rather than, hey, let's just cobble some things together that make sense and put it out on screen. And that's what they had with the original trilogy. A lot of the things that are on those sabers are left over from the Graflex. Um, you know, just absolutely makes no. It is so hard to work any of those greeblies on those things into a in-universe explanation of what they do. They just look good, and they went with it. So they, with the Phantom Menace and the prequels in general, they had more of a designed look, and I loved it. And not all the sabers were awesome, but Kenobi's saber, I love that design. Qui-Gon's is a very close one behind the Darth Maul for me. I still have yet to acquire a Qui-Gon saber, so I'm always looking. But this one, because of just the massiveness of it and everything about it, when it was announced that Replicas was coming out with this, I made sure that I was budgeted for it, because this thing wasn't cheap. It was going for another 100 or 150 more than the sabers usually did. And it was absolutely worth every every penny. And it's held up since then. This is I think a 2003 piece or 2004. I forget what it is. It's well, I can look. It is 2003. And some people have. And by the way, it's a very low count number 2, which really is just the plaque. It's not the saber that's made them this way anymore, but it's number 25 out of 3,000. So I got a good low run of it. I jumped on it as soon as they came in. Anyway, so the saber has helped because number one, I've taken care of it. Like I said before, I always wash my hands before I touch them, wipe them down after I'm done, keep them in a clean environment, dust them frequently. Don't expose them to elements when I can help it. As far as like if I have to move them outside or travel or transport them, they're usually going to be boxed and sealed up as best I can. But one of the things about the Phantom Menace and the prequel designs, but Phantom Menace in particular, is they used a lot of these rubber O-rings as part of their design. And over time, a lot of people have complained that those have started dry rotting and cracking and breaking off. I mean, thankfully, they're just standard O-rings you can find in a hardware store. So you just have to size them and get them to, make sure they fit and just roll them on if you ever have to replace them. But thankfully, I haven't had to replace mine. Everything's still as it is. The knobs on the top, you get a good light reflection on that, are anodized, I guess is the word. So it's metallic, color on the knobs. Very nice looking, very cool. And the saber is, if I put my hand up for reference, you can kind of get an idea of the size of it. Whatever. It is a big saber. It looks smaller than you think it would when you see it in front of you, but it is really a huge, long saber. I wish they would have made a top cover for it like they did the other sabers, but it came with the base cut, which is fine. But I haven't gotten around to getting a new cover made. Acrylic cases are insane priced. I don't get it. But I've just been dealing with it, but it's all right. So, a little bit of the story on that is, what it is. The design they were going for being a little more, as Doug Chiang, the art director, and whatever, had purposely by George Lucas wanted more Art Deco, Art Nouveau kind of design to things. Everything had a form, had a purpose. Very sleek designs, and this saber definitely was like that, shiny and functional at the same time. So, but again, it brought a new element into the Star Wars universe that hadn't been seen before on film. I believe some of the role-playing books, which were, I think, canon, and there might have been a novel previous to Phantom Menace, I believe, or an old Sith, Exar Kun, I believe, had a double-sided saber, smaller hilt than this, but still same idea. I think that's probably where they based it off of, but it was fleshed out very nicely here. And so I'm going to bring it up, if I don't break things here, bring it up closer for some more inspection. As we get up there, if we look at it, we can see. I'm going to kind of prop it over here. Hopefully, we can see the nice brushed nickel or brushed stainless metal this is made from. and we can see the relief in the milled grips there. And I'm going to turn the knob so we can kind of get a look at. Let's see if I can get down in here. Yeah, that's a good shot. So you can really see the texture on the knobs as they are, and you know how much, when you're looking at it like this, you can see how much surface, you know, area they're taking up when you're trying to spin this around in your hands, and it just doesn't kind of feel all that good. But you get used to it. But it's, again, you know, we're not playing with it. It's not a toy. It's just fun to. It's just kind of fun to spin it around a little bit just to do it. And over here they have the get him this way a little bit. The ends are milled out where the lightsaber rod would clip in. Now this wouldn't be how they would normally do it, but the hole would be there. These things had actually been threaded, and the rods would screw in to stay supported, and use that on screen for lightsaber reference for rotoscoping. But at least they put them in there where they would be, and we can really see the which is hard to tell on screen. You can really see the detail of the rings around the end, which are, to me, was always a very cool touch, and it was hard to kind of really tell, like, well, how thin or how thick are they really, you know, until you really got a good up close look. You know, the black inserts in there are painted, which is cool, and everything else pretty basic. It's just the basic cast, die cast, you know, metal, and then the brushed milled metal, the mirror underneath, so you can see what you're looking at when you're looking down on it. And it fits real nicely in these two little spaces where the supports go. So let me get him back a little bit. I mean, there's really, unfortunately, not much more detail to spend a whole lot of time going over. Other than that, the saber is just, you know, in a normal distancing from where I'm at, it's so big I have to, you know, kind of spaceballs pan past the thing to get it all in, rather than, I mean, if I, you know, pulling it all back, yeah, you get it all in, but you lose some of that up close definition. But you know, it's. I'll get him back here a little bit. The thing about the piece, from everything else I've talked about, is just when you see it all in one piece, it's God, I'm sorry to make you guys dizzy from this. I have to get the camera propped. It makes sense. It has a purpose to the design, and it's just super cool. And and it definitely is, again, my other than the Luke saber, my top favorite lightsaber design. Just as far as its looks. I mean, some of the other lightsabers I have, and maybe it's just kind of the way I would have to look at it, is they all have their own things. I can't, with the exception of the Luke one, because of just what it is, it kind of automatically places it up top. But all the rest of them, I think they've got an equal amount of their own uniqueness that I love about them, which I think keeps them all mostly on an equal footing with me as far as my how much I like them, I suppose, or I wouldn't have them. But I do have to say that this one, just when I see it, or if I hold it, it just makes you feel different than the other ones. It's you know, it's just bigger, and I guess that's what it is. It's just a little more powerful feeling if you hold it. I wish it worked because I could use it occasionally. Yeah, so it's very cool. So I didn't want to, you know, unfortunately, even with how cool this thing is and some of the history behind it, there's not really a whole lot of time necessary to talk about it or to go over it. You kind of get the idea unless you really are studying it for some other reason. But if anybody wants any other information or up close pictures, let me know. I'll take them. So with that being said, I'm going to use the last few minutes here that I'm taking out of my time tonight to add one guest Phantom Menace collectible that I just find super cool, along with this, since it's Phantom Menace, and be right back. Okay, everybody, I'm back. Thanks for waiting. And as you can see, I have added the which I did go and look. The AMT was the model company that made the all metal, screw together, pre-painted version of the Naboo Starfighter. Again, one of my absolute favorite designs of any of the Star Wars movies. And I was not expecting this when the Phantom Menace toys and things were out. I wasn't even looking for that. I was in I don't know, I think it was actually in a Toys R Us looking for video games instead. I wasn't really looking for stuff, and I was passing the models section, and they had these sitting up front in the end cap, and I just stopped to look at it just because they had a different look to them, and I saw what they were saying they were, and they weren't really all that expensive, but it just grabbed me, and I said I have to have it, just because it was cool. It wasn't like anything else that I was seeing at the time, and plus you didn't really have to do too much paint work. Now over time, I've tried cleaning the metal. Maybe something else will work. I've tried Brasso. I've tried something else. If anybody's got a better idea, I mean, the metal is smooth and shiny. It's just very oxidized over the years of having this out. It's a shame because it was nice, bright, and shiny. I'll think of something, but there it is. And a nice black lacquered base, which I'll take this off here very gently. As you can see how big it isn't with my hand on it. I'll just take them off over here. And the stand is a little precarious, but it works. But the problem is that it sets in this little slot down here, which isn't much, and it's setting on a counterweight with this in front of it. And I mean, it supports it without any problem, but I mean, you just bump it or move it, this thing can wiggle out, and there's nothing underneath of it to keep it in. There's no well, unless you have to do it on your own. But I mean, there was a hole there, but there's nothing that it came with, like a little cotter pin or something to snap it in. So I don't know if there was, what solution there might be, but it stays in, and then it just sits on top. That goes in the hole underneath the underside of the ship, which is there, and it's segmented, very lobster looking, I guess, where all the screws would be, the metal caps or cover them, and that's okay. It's what it is and what it's there for. It's got the torpedo slot up in the front, and the two laser cannons there in the front, and the yellow painted very nicely. Let me see. Hang on a second. Over here. It's a very nice shade of yellow. I mean, it's kind of like a canary type of yellow, and when you see it like this, you can see the length of it. It's very sleek. Again, Doug Chiang just killed the artwork design on these movies, Phantom Menace especially. They added this. I wish there would have been one whole piece, but I guess they had to fit it in the box or give you some way to do things without it breaking. But the tail is a separate segment, and it's a shame that you have this whole beautiful fuselage coming down and then it's segmented there at the end. But so be it. Is what it is. Some of the pieces, are plastic. It's not all metal. Like these little fuselage, I don't know what we call those, the little flanges coming out of the engines are plastic, but the rest of the ship is metal. They're the main hull rather. The canopy and the cockpit were not painted, and the pilot inside was not painted, so I had to do all that. I don't know how much of that we can see in there. Get around out of the light so I'm not. I mean, they didn't have much detail in it to begin with, but you get enough of it that you know what it is. And then the R2 unit, I was just plastic, and I had to paint him, so I kind of got in there and did a little bit of paint with him, and the little bit of decals that it came with, they just go right there, and on the other side as well. But again, just the cool part about the piece is that it's all metal. Well, the whole being metal, and it just has just a cool look to it, man. And I liked how the yellow paint that they used kind of lightened up into the panel lines a little bit, kind of giving you a natural relief color in that. That was kind of cool. And again, just certain things catch my eye. I mean, when you see certain things and you just can't ignore them, you just have to have it. So I wish they made a version of this that would have been a larger scale in metal. I know they made a larger model kit that was accurate, but I just, after having this, even though this is smaller, this just an actual model kit isn't really going to touch the reality of the look of real metal to me. So as much as I could probably do a good job on the model kit, it wasn't really there. One of the other things, now that I'm thinking about it, that I don't have, that were from the Phantom Menace, that would be a super cool, and I don't know if they made them, so I'll have to look into it. Something like this with Anakin's pod, that would be super cool if they made something on this level out of this material like that. Again, I know they made models of it, but I looked at them, I've seen them before, they don't really look that good. I don't know. But yeah, so I mentioned it in earlier videos in passing, so I just wanted to spend a couple minutes just kind of looking at it, talking about it while I was doing another Phantom Menace 101 to kind of get them both in at the same time. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any other questions or comments or anything else, feel free to say so below. So, subscribe and like. Always keep it civil. Talk to you later. Bye.